Republicans have spent the last 2 years blasting Governor Walz, saying he's to blame for rising crime across Minnesota. Today, the newly reelected governor responded, laying out a massive proposal to overhaul public safety and more. Northern News Now's Quinn Gorham breaks down the funding that could be on the way to fire departments, law enforcement, and other first responders.
Being able to provide protective and police services, being able to make sure everybody goes home at night and has a home, a safe home to live in, and access to health care. All of those things are the core of what enhances life in Minnesota.
Good to see you. Yeah, thank you for hosting us. Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan announced the next phase of their new budget plan Monday, this time highlighting plans for public safety.
This proposal will make sure that communities have what they need. It will be coupled with, and you'll get to see a little bit tomorrow, local government aid increases to cities that receive that.
Walz promised that those investments will benefit public safety agencies statewide. Part of that plan involves increasing funding for fire training and resources and a $40 million budget for responding and recovering from disasters across the state.
We have a responsibility to those firefighters in Virginia as much as we do in Roseville, and to the citizens of Virginia or Roseville, that they get the best quality service.
Having a safe and stable place to live is foundational to health and safety.
The proposal also encourages new legislation on gun control, pushing for universal background checks and aiming to increase the minimum age to purchase certain firearms. It also adds funding for body cameras with the goal of implementing them in as many agencies as possible across the state. The plan also creates new programs to decrease violence and trafficking, including a new Office of Missing and Murdered African American Women.
We recognize that some situations are best addressed when we work across levels of government to reduce gun violence, to support victims of crime, and to respond and recover from disasters.
Just one section of a much larger plan. Both the governor and lieutenant governor hope makes a big difference. In Duluth, Quinn Gorham, Northern News Now.
The governor's proposal also includes significant investments in housing and health care. Now, Republicans are responding tonight. Grand Rapids GOP Rep Spencer Igoe issued a statement this evening saying it's good to see Walz investing in public safety, but a much larger investment should be made. Igoe wants to see investments in hiring and retention bonuses to combat staffing challenges statewide. Some good news.